Hi everyone, we're Michelle and David and welcome to the ExplorOz channel.
Hi again everyone, it's David, the developer of the ExplorOz Traveller app, and let's have a look at settings. There's quite a lot of settings in the app. The settings panel is under the left hand menu over here, and you scroll down here to settings. If you're doing the introductory tutorial, it's one of the steps in the introductory tutorial also, so it'll get you started into this area. So let's just explain what each of these options means. Now, so just before we start, some devices will have slightly different options depending on some of the configuration and settings that you have in your device. There'll certainly be differences down the very bottom in the advanced stuff, and the majority of them we'll go through right now. So general settings, these are settings that affect all parts of the app. So there's font size, we can obviously change that between small, medium, small, normal, large and larger. You can obviously set this to whatever your preference. I'll just leave it to large also while I'm doing these videos. That'll change all the menus, all of the textual components of the app. It doesn't actually change the font size of the items on the map itself. There's a different setting for that. Position display format, obviously you've got the choice of how you want the positions to be displayed to you and how you would enter those positions. These are the options. If you don't know what they mean, this is not the right place for that question, but you can obviously set whichever particular type you would prefer to see, and at the moment I'll just leave it in decimal degrees. Time display format, 12 or 24 hours, so anywhere on the app where the time is displayed, you can either display it with an AM PM indicator or in 24-hour syntax. The heading display, we moved the heading display from the map screen section to the general section with version 7, primarily because the heading display is used in all of the lists, and so anytime you are in one of the list pages or even the pop-ups on the map, there is a north up, an indicator of the direction of travel, and that same direction of travel indicator will be based on north up or track up. So it's a slightly bigger setting than just being on the map. It's used everywhere, so it got moved up into the general settings. And the enable what3 words when online. You can obviously just turn this on or off. Again, the what3 word system is a facility to where they've created a three-word syntax for every 3 square meter block on planet Earth. It's quite a number of words combined. It's designed to make it easier for you, for people to report their position and things like that, than trying to work out a lat long coordinate over a telephone. It's meant to be easier to say the what3 words. Anyway, that's an option, and you can turn it on or off. I'll quickly show you where these are in the app after I've gone through the settings. It's a bit hard for me to go back and forth between the screens. It would take forever. So then in the map screen settings, we've got stay awake. So on your devices, this setting will allow you to override the automatic timeout for your screen to go to sleep. So if you've got stay awake turned on, your device won't go to sleep while the map screen is visible on within the app. If you're on the list screen or some of the other screens, that has the potential to go quiet, to go dark. But if you're on the map screen and you're using the tool in navigation mode and you've got stay awake turned on, it will not go into, it won't go dark. It'll stay active all the time. If you want it to go dark, you can turn that setting this way, and it would consume less battery because you're not showing the screen, but you'll also not be able to see the maps as you're traveling around unless you tap on the screen. The odometers on the map screen, you can have none to 3 odometers. I'll just change this to 2 for now. It defaults to turning 1 on. You can have up to 3. We'll just leave 2 for a minute. I'll show you those in a minute. The zoom and GPS lock position. I actually forgot to put this zoom and GPS. No, that's wrong. It was the other thing, the speed panel. The zoom and GPS lock position is left or right. Now those are the buttons that allow you to set the GPS lock and set the zoom in and out. I'll just move it to the right so that we can see what it looks like once it's been moved. The show speed panel. The speed panel is a panel that can show you the speed heading, your speed you're heading, and your altitude, and also your current position on the main map screen. We obviously show the your current position also in the left hand side menu, but this allows it to be visible on the main map screen at the same time. The defaults are, as you can see, these settings were set at default when I started this tutorial. So show speed panel is on, show speed in the show the heading and the speed is on. You can't actually turn the speed off in the speed panel. We call it a speed panel, so it's always on, but you can optionally have the heading, the altitude and the position displayed. Then there's a speed panel layout, so you can have horizontal or vertical. So if you wanted to go down one of the sides of the screen, you could set it to vertical, and if you wanted to go across the screen, you would set it to horizontal. Then the speed panel size, the actual size of the display. Options go from tiny to huge. This is all going to be based on the best setting for your device will be based on the resolution of your display and how much room you want the thing to take up on the screen. I'll just drop it to medium just so that we've made a change. Then there's also on the maps screens, there's also a number of buttons. So this allows you to change the size of those buttons. So that includes the buttons for the GPS lock. It also includes the map layers buttons, the navigation control buttons, and the odometers buttons. You can set them to small or normal, again based on your device preferences and how much visible screen space you have available. Your current position arrow, you can set the size of it. That's the little arrow that shows you where you currently are. None, you can have it nothing, which will just show you the little pulsing centered dot. You can have it small, medium, large or huge. I'll just leave it at medium. The current position arrow color, you can change this to any color you would like. Let's just change it to, I don't know, aquamarine for something to do, and let's make it large just so that we've made a change so that you can see it when we look at the map screen. The current position pulse icon, the little icon just pulses so that you can sort of see a little flashing thing. I think it shows you a little bit easier than if it was just sitting there as a static element. You have the option to turn it on and off. If you don't like the pulsing, turn it off. Some people used to think that that pulsing was that the GPS was connected and working. It's not, it's purely a display option. The GPS status marker up in the top left hand corner now, I just did a tutorial on that, so have a look at the GPS status indicator tutorial for information on how that works. Current position range rings. The app allows you to have none to 5 range rings. What are range rings? I will show you. So we'll just turn on 5 range rings and I'll set those distances between each of those range rings to 1 kilometer. So what that should do is it'll show me 5 rings around my current position in a 1 kilometer increment, and we'll have a look at that when we go to the map screen. The snail trail color, obviously the app draws a snail trail, places a snail trail on the map if you have it turned on all the time. You can change the color to whatever you would like. Let's change it to chartreuse and see what happens there. The map controls theme, you can set the theme that you would like the buttons on the map screen to be, and you can get an indicator of what they would look like from changing it here. The default is dark. I use dark. I like dark. I've seen some people use royal. I've seen people use all sorts of colors there. You can change that to however you particularly like. This crosshairs icon, or the crosshairs indicator, it's 4 settings for the crosshairs. You can have none. Now you can have none, which would basically not show you any crosshair in the center of the screen. You would just have to kind of guess. There's also a symbol, and it's an icon. It looks like a target that you would see like down a rifle target or something. It's a symbol that looks like that, or a line, and the line is just basically a cross made up out of 2 lines. And then the other option is line always on. So even if you have locked the GPS onto your current position, it will still show the line at that same position. It defaults to line. I know Michelle uses the icon sometimes, and I use the line. It's all personal preference. Have a play with each of those settings and set it to what suits you the best. Show crosshairs position. This was only added in 6.6, the crosshairs function, the crosshairs position function. You can set it to top, above or below. It defaults to top, so it displays it at the top middle of the screen, right about there, and when we go back that'll be where it'll be. I could set it to the bottom, which will drop it down here, or I could set it to above or below. I'll set it to above now just so that we can see what happens. I'm going to have to remember all these setting changes when we get to the map screen so I can show you what the heck's happened. But the above basically just puts the crosshair position information above the cross. So if the cross was here, the information would be displayed in the more closer to the middle of the screen. So we'll just set it to above and we'll have a look at that. The zoom button plus and minus change value. If you like to use the plus and minus buttons, you might prefer to go slower, so you might want to do a 0.1 zoom increment with each button press, or a half, or if you want it to go in and out quickly, you might set it to 2. I tend to find that I use 0.5 a fair bit, so that's the setting that I would like to use. The track up center offset, you can set that on or off. Now when you're in track up mode, what center up offset does is it drops the center of the map screen down a little bit so that you can see more of the course in front of you above the screen, because obviously you're traveling in the direction that of the screen. So the more visible space you have up here, the more of the map ahead you can see. So the center up offset basically drops the center, which would be about here, down to around about here. It's a 30% change. So it drops it down to around about here, so the map screen gives you more in front of where you're going. Again, if you don't like that, you can turn it off. And this track center up offset only works if you're in track up mode. The disable GPS lock. This one's tricks people up quite often. When the GPS lock is enabled, you can't zoom. If you pan across the map, it's likely to snap back to your GPS location where you currently are, because the GPS lock is basically held on. So if you try to pan, it'll snap back. If you so then you'd have to press the GPS lock button to turn it off, and then you'd be able to pan. That's what disable GPS lock manual means. Disable GPS lock automatic means that if you touch the map and pan it, even with the GPS lock on, you touch the map and pan it, it will turn the GPS lock off straight away. That was the functionality that we had in the app prior to version 5 something when we put GPS lock on. This disable GPS lock setting, it used to be what you would now call automatic. So if you prefer that when you pan the map, it will turn that GPS lock off automatically, and then you can turn it back on again, you can set that. The 3D pitch display mode, you can set the amount of pitch that you would like. If you're using the 3D button on the map controls, you can set the pitch, so basically the angle that you would be viewing the map at. Defaults to 45 degrees, you can change it between 25 and 55. I don't even know. The off, I think, will actually remove the icon from the map screen. Let's try that. I think I make it do that. I can't remember. I hope it does now that I've said that. Okay, so the next section down. So there are all the controls for the map screen. There's quite a lot of them there. The next section down is the EOTopo 2021 specific settings, and we've got dark mode and font size. So dark mode auto on or off. If dark mode is in auto, which is the default, and I'm not sure, I thought I had the default settings, but it said it was off. Dark mode auto basically means that when you are, when your current time is the same as the sunset time at your current location, the map will change to a dark mode control. So the map will basically change colors and styles so that it's a bit more friendly at night time in the vehicle, or in your hand, or wherever you're using the app. So the auto is sunset sunrise time. Off means it won't change, it'll always be in full daylight mode, and on means it'll be in dark mode as soon as you go there. I'll just turn it on so that we can see what dark mode does. And then the next one down is font size. This is the font size of the elements on the map. So the place markers, the road names, the road symbols, all of those that have text we can change the font size. Let's whack it up to 150%. So that we can have a look. The disadvantage of changing that particular setting to a high value or really high value is that if labels clash, in other words, two road names run into each other or two bits and pieces, it will turn one of them off. So you will lose some data, some elements off the map if you have it set large, but you'll get bigger indicators if you're having trouble seeing them. I've set it large, so we'll see what it does. In the navigation settings, auto recalculate if online. If you're using a driving, walking or cycling segment on a navigation plan and you are online at the time and you've deviated from the path, or you think you know the best way to go and you head a different way, or you inadvertently miss a corner or a junction and you start driving off in the wrong direction, the system will auto recalculate that for you on the fly and give you the best course to get back to the way that you should be going. It says recalculating, that you get a voice prompt and an audio voice prompt and a visual prompt if they're turned on, when that action happens. You have to move off the line. I think it's I said it's around about 250 meters after you. So if you've left the line of travel greater than 250 meters, it will do a recalculation. Voice prompts. If you want the voice prompts turned on, there's two options here. You can have three options. You can have none. You can have basic and you can have turn by turn. The basic is when you've reached a waypoint and when you've begin the navigation, you've reached a waypoint or you've reached the end. That's all the voices you will get for the basic. Turn by turn will tell you each junction, corner and intersection roundabout that you're coming up to with voice. You can adjust the voice prompt speed. When you change these, the device will start talking to you and it will tell you, you'll hear a sample of what your adjustments made, so you can set it faster or slower based on your device if the voice isn't coming out at the right speed. Visual prompts, you can turn on the visual prompts. They're the little blue prompts that appear up the top of the screen, drop down from the top up here, and give you the same information as the voice prompt does in a dialog box on the screen. Great if you're a motorbike rider or or something and you can't hear the voice prompts, but you'll be able to see them appear on the screen. You can then also set the duration that you want those prompts to show up on the screen for. So quite a lot of functionality in the way that you handle the navigation prompts. Then there's the current navigation color and the next navigation color. These are the colors that are highlighted on the markers for each of those functions. They're not as prevalent as it used to be. You can change those and see what happens on on your map. It doesn't change the lines, the actual navigation line colors. They're fixed by us as to what they mean, for whether it's the yellow one for your current one or a slightly greener one for a future one. They're already defined that way. The GPS timers, GPS pole frequency, what the heck is this, and why would you change it? This is actually how often, so the GPS is streaming position data into the app, but we'll only take samples of that data, or we'll only extract the position every now and then. It's one to help with the performance of the machine, because there's a lot of maths and calculations that go on when the positions come in to display all the controls on the screen. You've got the speed, positions, you've got all those, you've got the map moving, you've got other bits and pieces. Some devices are a little slower than others. They don't necessarily accept data or can't render the data as fast as we would like. 0.5 seconds is the default. I recommend you keep it there. If you've got a particularly fast device and you're happy with everything, you might want to go down to 0.25. If you aren't as worried about the accuracy or the speed of the data displaying and updating on the map screen, you can slow the GPS speed down a little bit so that you'll only get positions every 1 second up to 1 minute if that was suitable for your what you were using the app for. It defaults to 0.5. I suggest you leave it there. If you want to change it, have a play, feel free. App resets, these were only just moved into the settings panel based on version 7 because there was a lot of resets in here before. We used to do database resets and other bits and pieces, so we've moved some things out. I should have said not move things in. App resets at this rate. Reset speed, so reset the position of the speed panel. Sometimes if you've double clicked it and it's hidden, you might not be able to see it, or you've forgotten where you put it, because it is movable on the screen, the speed panel. You might need to come in here and reset it. This will reset it back to the bottom center of the screen so that you can see it, and I've just pressed that so that it'll do that. Reset to default settings, obviously this one. We've just made all these changes. I don't particularly want to reset the app back to default, but if you wanted to reset the app back to default, you would press this and it would go back to basically factory settings. That doesn't remove your places and treks, and it doesn't remove your maps. It just basically resets the settings so that you can set it up again. Now, I said some settings were visible and invisible on various devices, and depending on what you're doing. The advanced section here, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of settings in here if you're using an iOS or Android device and they control how the GPS drivers work. They're quite comprehensive. As realistically, the settings and processes below should not be changed without advice from the ExplorOz Traveller team. That still holds true. There's some quite complicated settings in there, and if you get it messed up, it can cause grief. So really only change those on advice from us, or if you particularly know what those settings mean. These other ones are slightly out of date now. We don't use those as much anymore, but they're in there, and they're mainly support tools for us to give you advice on when you might need to do something. So that's the settings, the whole app. We made a whole heap of changes. We've changed the font size. Let's change this to UTM because I didn't do that. We've changed 24-hour. We've turned on what's 3 words. We changed the odometers. We moved the GPS lock. We've set aquamarine as our current position arrow color. We made it large. I think, what else have we done? Range rings, snail trail color. Let's go and see what the heck it's all done. Okay, so it reset the speed panel. This is the reset position, bottom, center, middle. It's been reset to that position for both orientations in portrait and landscape. You'll also see that we've gone into dark mode because we had turned on the dark mode. You can see the position of our crosshair position icon. We set it to above. That's the above position. The below position is here, and then obviously top and bottom are up there and down there. We adjusted the number of odometers. This is our odometer control. We set onto 2. Obviously, it should be saying 0 there. It would be on your device. This is my development machine. It can get a bit screwed up because it's actually not connected to GPSs, and you can see how many kilometers I've done. Because I move around the map all the time using my simulator down here. So remember, again, this is a simulator. You don't have this in your app. Okay, the other thing we changed was some of the font sizes. So you can see some of these names are bigger than they would have been, I think. It's a bit hard for me to tell on this screen, but we changed the font size of the map as well. What else did we change? I think that was about it, wasn't it? We changed to UTM, and we've got UTM here and UTM here. We turned on the what's 3 words, so the what 3 words for our current position is shown here. By also turning on the what 3 words, we've activated what 3 words search in address, so you can type in a what 3 word address. Test, I don't know what a what 3 word address is for my position. Test this dot, we'll give it a go. Okay, so you can type in any 3 words and it'll try and give you a guess of what you're looking for, and then I could click on one of those and use those as the address search. So that's the what 3 words. Settings, let's just jump back in, have a quick scroll through. Font size large for the text. UTM 24-hour track up, what 3 words, we can turn that off now. 2 odometers, yep, we did that. The zoom and lock position was on the right. I hope it was on the right. Yes, it is. It's over here on the right instead of being over on the left. And current position arrow. I'm not showing my current position. I'll just boot up the sim and go down to GPS lock. It'll take me somewhere to Tasmania. There's my current position. Arrow, it's large and it's chartreuse, and then you can also see our snail trail color has gone to that green color that we elected it to be. And there you go, that's about it. So look, there's a lot of settings in there. Nothing you can do in there will cause you any grief. If you get stuck or something goes completely amiss, clear settings will fix that up. and it'll take you back to the introductory tutorial, but obviously you've done all these things. You will just jump back into the login panel, it'll remember who you are, and go straight to done, and you'll be back with a full reset of all the settings. So the font sizes have gone small again, we've gone back to the left. I hope that helps you with the settings panel. Thanks for using ExplorOz Traveller, and we look forward to seeing you on the next tutorial.